It's been a night of very quick games here for the start of week number 3 in the ANZ HGC, and we come to game number 2 and what could be potentially the final game of the night. Jill Phoenix, coming into this one, did you expect things to go as quickly as they have done?
Well, I think the results that we're getting were kind of what we were expecting, but the speed at which they're happening is a little bit more than what we were kind of hoping, because we want to see a little bit more fight from both of these sides, but it's looking rather one-sided, both of these matchups.
So far it has done, and we're going to actually turn our attention now to the next map, which is Tomb of the Spider Queen, a map which is at very close quarters, so it should definitely play into the idea of what Xylophone dudes have been known to excel at in the past. Actually was picked up by them, so first pick is going to go in favor of Crimson. And, this is their chance, really, if anything, to try and find some of those picks that they were able to find at the start of Infernal Shrines, but on a more consistent basis.
Yeah, one thing that I'm looking for is any potential Cho'Gall shenanigans that they are quite likely to roll with. It's one of the maps that can utilize that hero quite well. They used it in the previous weeks and to great effect. Actually getting, I'm just trying to think who that win was against.
So I've got one up against Imp Hill. We've got others across the board, really.
Yeah, they were able to get quite a few good wins, and they were able to get a win on Tomb of the Spider Queen with that Cho'Gall. I wouldn't be too surprised to see them try and throw it out there, see how Crimson deal with it, but I think a team like Crimson, with their skill and with their coordination, will probably have something in the back of their mind to be able to deal with such a strategy.
So I think the game that you're referring to would have been week 1 on Thursday up against Pleb to Pro. That was the second game.
Yeah, that would have been
it around. Yeah, they turned it around, got the Cho'Gall comp. I think that's one of the things to bear in mind, right, is Cho'Gall is quite susceptible early games. So if you have a strong enough comp to punish them, take enough structures down, get enough of a lead, it's very hard for them to get back into things. But once level 13 starts to creep into play, the anxiety starts to rise. You're thinking, we need to do something. Otherwise, this guy is going to be such a monster that he can single-handedly take our team down. And we could have our Tychus, our Karazim, our Leorix, all this percentile shred, but it's going to count for nothing if he's killed us all by the time that's even come into effect.
Yeah, we even saw it in a lot of those games where the Cho'Gall was picked up. As we get later in the game, the silences coming out from the Cho'Gall are incredibly impactful. We've seen it from a lot of these supports where they're able to throw silences in and around these team fights, just how much it influences a team fight when you have it from a Cho'Gall, and even when we hit level 20, a lot of the time we're seeing the shadow volley. Just when they get piercing, we see the amount of damage that they're able to do. So I would like to see, as weird as it is, the Cho'Gall is somewhat of a standard for this team. So I would like them to go to what is their quote-unquote standard.
So you'd like to see a Cho'Gall ban, basically, from Crimson, is what you're saying?
To be honest, with how a lot of these teams are willing to go for those targeted bans, we saw it in the previous series with the Samurai ban towards Xalians, I wouldn't be too surprised to see something like a target ban towards the Cho'Gall.
So, Crimson have only showed themselves playing Tomb of the Spider Queen this phase once so far. They did go for a Tracer comp on that map, rocking it with the double support with a Tassadar for the off lane. So, in that respect, you do still have that wave clear function, which is so necessary. Tracer wouldn't really spring to mind as the go-to pick on a map, which is all about pushing power and wave clear collection, but does function very similar to the idea of a Genji in that roaming capacity. As we kick things off, the lobby is ready. The teams are here. It's game number 2 time for the ANZ HGC, GL.
Yeah, and when you give the second pick over to XD, it does give them that opportunity to throw. They did pick it incredibly early in some of those games. They picked up in that 1-2 slot the Cho'Gall. So it's not like they're trying to sometimes finagle this draft into a direction where they've kind of choked their opponents out of all the percentage-based damage so they can go for it. No, sometimes they just throw it right at the start, so who knows what they're going to go with. They could try bring in something like that Alarak that they have used from time to time.
the flex picks are definitely there, and it's something you need
really
to keep in the back of your head. But I mean, we can speculate about these picks as much as you like. I think once again, you still got to ground yourself in the sense of if you are good enough to beat Cheese, you don't need to ban it. You can just be like, you're playing that, but we are better than you, right? So there's a case where you could say we could be scared of these pocket picks and these strats, but if you believe that you are mechanically that far ahead of your opponent, let them have that. Let them gimp themselves on the off chance that you make a mistake. So I feel like there's definitely two sides to the story, and I'm very interested to see how Crimson come out with this draft to show us really where their mentality's at.
Yeah, and considering how that first game played out, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the kind of mentality that Crimson are going to be coming into this with. They did very clearly come out on top in that first game in just the battle of skills, really, and also the drafting did very much go in their favor. So they are very comfortable coming into this, going against whatever that XD are going to bring up against them. And to be honest, they could even pick up the Chromie again. It's a favorite of Hacky, does quite well on this map. And to be honest, it would be a similar situation where on Volskaya, where you just throw Sandblast into the Protector, throw it into a Cho'Gall. If that's a Cho'Gall that they're going to pick up, throw Sandblast in it all day. You're going to stack up incredibly quickly.
I agree. And I like this Johanna transition here. With Garrosh being taken off the board, you have to imagine, based on what you've just mentioned with the ideas of a Flays Butcher or an Alarak or anything along those lines, that Johanna, once again, will shut that down. The wave clear, the shield glare, it all comes into play. And, I mean, if you are going for the Malfurion, which would seem to be the most obvious pick here, yes, it's very vanilla. It doesn't reveal too much, but you do leave yourself quite open to those power picks, which would be more better dealt with, say, an Ufa or something along those lines. And it is Shadow, arguably the best support player in the ANZ HGC, so he can definitely flex into multiple roles to suit what the team needs. So I like this Johanna first pick, but this is the first glimpse into how Xylophone dudes want to open up, and that is going to be the classic of Sorelli with the Ragnaros. I love it when he plays as hero.
Yeah, it's one of those. This is one of those maps where the Ragnaros does get a lot of that value. He does bring the wave clear, does quite well in that solo lane, and the Molten Core is incredibly impactful on this map. Can work out very well defensively, and also give a lot of space because of just how much, or the percentage of the map that it covers, regardless of where you put it.
Looking forward to seeing exactly where he goes with this one. I'm just bringing up the stats to see if he does go for the smash. He does go for the smash. There was a time back in the day he went for Lava Wave. Looks like his team have been hounding him. No. You've got to play meta. If you are going to play Ragnaros, we can understand it. The Molten Core, it works, especially based on the mechanics of the map with the spiders, those web weavers. But we do need some way of turning things around. And speaking of, that's going to be the Blaze. That's the Decade Cane that we are wondering about. And that's going to give them, 3 crucial components of just straight lockdown. That's a very hard wall to try and pass.
Yeah, that's an incredibly solid lineup that Crimson have already put together. And they can cater their DPS to whatever they want and react to what XD are going to bring towards them. The Blaze is going to do just fine in that solo lane. We've seen it throughout this night, just how good of a hero he is. And they've got wave clear for days, so they could even realistically go towards something like the TAS Tracer.
Well, as I was just going to say, my literal next point was they've covered themselves enough with that wave clear. I like the fact, though, that the Chromie ban has come across because, once again, you've got the dream comp to protect that Chromie. And if you were thinking of going somebody backline-ish, then the Chromie would have shut that down. But, I mean, on that same idea, you talk about single-target players. Yeah, Tracer does definitely spring to mind. It's definitely a pick that could come to life here. They're very, very comfortable on it. Once again, they've showed it in multiple games. And the Cho'Gall ban, both of these teams doing fantastic research, taking no chances. I mean, yes, once again, you can maybe put a battle of ego here and let them have the Cho'Gall and let's just destroy them and show them that they're not good with it. The same could be said about just banning it and going, look, we don't want to play with that. We just want to have a standard game.
And there's also the thing where if you think your opponent has already tailored their draft towards that kind of strategy, by taking out that key part, you're kind of just taking a massive chunk out of the strategy that XA are wanting to go with. And then what do they do? How do they try and fill in the gaps that the Cho'Gall was meant to fill?
Well, that's the big question on everybody's mind right now is you have to start wondering where this draft really transitions into. They've got the Ragnaros, that's the setup potential. The ETC, obviously, you'd imagine that's the mosh pit at this stage, although based on those 3 picks, it's going to be a tall order to try and land that one. In terms of the DPS, you're looking at some flex picks, and those are flex picks if I've ever seen them. The double A, call the AA, because a breakdown's going to take place here. Alarak and Ana. Have not seen Ana in 25 years, but she's going to be making her debut here to show us exactly what she can do.
I really love Ana, but it's...
I love it too. She's so skill shot dependent, but it just feels so frustrating to play.
I love playing her in Overwatch because of the whole skill element to it, but in Heroes of the Storm, it just doesn't really translate as well across. I mean, it's fun to make those hero plays with the sleep darts, and all of a sudden, the rest of the team just follows up incredibly well. But the healing, and a lot of the time, it's the self-healing that is very limited on the Ana, and she is so vulnerable a lot of the times to any kind of aggression that it makes it hard for her to set up in any kind of capacity.
It feels a little bit to me, depending on which build she goes, you'd imagine at this stage it's going to be the Sleep Dart build. If Crimson are diving deep, they have the Sleep Dart to try and turn things around, set things quite nicely for the Alarak, who at a later stage will receive that nano boost. That's 30% extra spell power. Alarak can do a lot. But then speaking of, if we thought flexes were funny and cool and exciting on the left side of your screen, you know, Crimson have enough faith to give Hacky a second chance when it comes to their
He wants to redeem himself.
He's like, look, guys, I actually can play this hero pretty well. Just give me a chance. You know,
it's not so much that he wants to redeem himself, is that he feels the need to do so, because that was not a good performance of his Kel'Thuzad last week. You don't want to have your competitive career on Kel'Thuzad look like that one from before. He wants to give it another crack, and against a team like XD, it could work out. I mean, if you get any kind of lockdown onto that Ana, she's going to die incredibly quickly.
Yeah, it's going to be one way for you to target that backline and try and break up this combo that they've decided to draft in a classic Xylophone dudes fashion. The question is, though, who is their support? Where do they want to go to try and finalize things? Is it going to be the Stukov? Because I can imagine it's not going to be Ana on her own.
It is going to be Ana on her own.
They're just going to leave Ana on her own. Okay.
She did get a few buffs so that she does get the passive or life regeneration when she has a lot of the strike damage onto opponents, but it's
the same old classic issues though, in terms of, you know, if somebody has a full health bar, you know, your healing dart's not going to pass through them. There's a few minor pet peeves or quality of life change that would definitely make her a little bit of a stronger candidate. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what Sela can output here. If you can actually make the Ana look impressive, because you've got three impressive mages with that nano boost will find value. So if one falls down, hey, we've got another head like a Hydra just ready to bombard you with punishment. So Xylophone dudes, in their true and trusted style, have delivered. They've showed us something that is exciting. Hopefully, GL, though, this game lasts a little bit longer than 10 minutes. It is 2 minutes Spider Queen, mind you. It's pretty hard.
Sometimes it can end in less than 10 minutes. Sometimes it can go for about 30. You never know with a map like Tomb of the Spider Queen.
It is that flip of the coin. It's a very hit or miss map, and hit or miss is going to be the one of this draft as well, as we load on into it. Game number 2 with Crimson currently leading 1-0 in the best of 3 series. This series brought to you by McDonald's Australia. The team on the left-hand side, that is known as the Xylophone dudes, led by ETC. That's Tommy playing that one. Sorelli on his famous Ragnaros Flays, rocking the Alarak, Bouncy on Leeming, and Sailor showing some sweet moves with Ana.
And on the red side, one game up in this series, looking to close it out, it is Crimson. We have Azure on the Hanzo, KVA on Johanna, Hacky trying to redeem himself on Kel'Thuzad, Jesmez on Blaze, and Shadow on the Decade.
I saw somebody in chat there to say, can we just lock the camera on Hacky all game long and just really scrutinize his play?
Yes, just scrutinize every single decision he makes, every skill shot. And to be honest, against an Alarak, there's a possibility that someone like a Kel'Thuzad can just straight up feed.
I mean, if he's in the wrong place at the wrong time.
You can get incredibly punished by an ally. To be honest, even the Hanzo can also get punished, but they're going to have to toe that line between stepping forward to do a lot of that damage and also being careful about just getting demolished.
But let's not get too sidetracked. We did see those first 3 picks for Crimson, and we said that's the impenetrable wall, which makes it very good to draft the Chromie. Xylophone will function in much the same way, a squishy backliner with no mobility. So it's all down to the expertise of the backline and the front line to talk together on that same page to make things happen. As we're going to see the traditional start, 2 Timber Spider Queen, bouncing between those lanes. You're primarily looking just to acquire as many gems in that bank, looking at the bottom right side of your screen where you need to hand in 50 to make things happen. And typically speaking, you're looking around level 7 to level 8 when teams hand this in to try and accelerate their lead to hit those ultimates and to push.
Yeah, and I'm liking the amount of wave clear that this Crimson lineup do have, so they are going to be the ones in favor of these rotations as Tommy's taking a lot of damage. The lockdown is so very good, and they're going to be able to pick up first blood. Oh, there's the Hacky that we all wanted to see on this hero. That's what we wanted to see.
The storm bow is yours. Like, don't worry, Hacky, I've got you. We've got that synergy. And they get that double kill. Nice and easy. 2 kills, 2 minutes. Done just like that.
And already we're seeing a much better performance of Hacky's Kel'Thuzad than we saw before. He's going to be happy with that one at least.
He will be. As both teams continue the map objective style of play, bouncing and bouncing. Getting as many gems as they can. A little bit of pressure is actually being put into the bottom lane as Shadow is forced to respond. Jesmez doing a lot in terms of keeping Strelly at bay, dropping him down to half. But based on the way that this game is shaping so far, with the momentum in favor of Crimson, you have to look to try and see how much value Ragnaros can find with that Molten Core when he sieges up to try and delay the Web Weaver's sieging potential.
Yeah, no, we're actually seeing Shadow just rotating between mid and bottom most of the time to just have a little bit of impact on that lane so that Jesmez does have a little bit more space to work with as your NKVA. They're going to be able to take away that mercenary camp, and this is going to allow them to be putting a lot more pressure in this mid lane, and with amount of spell damage coming in as a great lockdown, they are going to do a lot of damage.
That's the combo right there. They're going to find one, maybe a second, but they just collapse onto Anna, exposing her weakness. And Jesmez, so he was ready to rock on and make something happen there. And speaking of, one point I want to mention, at level 4, he's gone for Oil Dispersal, so that's the increased slow, making it that much easier for Hacky to try and line up those combos, and more importantly, complete that quest. He needs to reach 30 Blight to unlock a massive power spike when it comes to spell power, and that's when things start to really unlock. You're getting Chromie vibes with one-shot potential.
Oh yeah, and already he's at 18 of those stacks. I'm trying to think how long it took him to get that many stacks in the previous game. And a lot of it is going to be just harkening back to that game that Hacky was on that Kel'Thuzad and how much of a better performance it is in this one. I think a lot of it has to do with the composition around it. As you mentioned, the solid front line of this Crimson lineup, it's allowing him much more space to work or step forward and do a lot of that damage.
That he can. And that's going to be an early hand in as Crimson now are going to hit level 7, a half level over their opponents. That's going to be the Molten Core response from Sorelli. And you're just going to see here Crimson peel away to the side lanes to go mid lane is conceded. We've still got Jesmez pushing bot lane for free, much like Infernal Shrines. We will turn our attention to the top lane, and we're just going to get XP. The Web Weavers, like the Punishers, aren't that strong when you're only 4 minutes into this one. It's all about that split pressure and getting as many free towers, free structures as you wait for your team or your opponents to really respond.
Yeah, and especially the top lane is one of those key lanes, especially because of that boss that will come into play as we get later on into this game. It will be rushing down that top lane. So that is one of those areas where you want to be doing the most structural damage as possible in the early game so you can make the most of that boss pressure later on.
23 stacks and climbing. Hacky getting that much closer to the all-important part. But I'll tell you who has just completed their quest. That would be Azure. Now 20 stacks on that scatter arrow. Able to really output some damage from afar, and he has gone for the straight arrows at level 4, so looking to make some boss plays. Ooh. That's a fantastic displacement, ×2.
Oh, the heal!
And Tommy making sure he cannot get away, but maybe doesn't even need to worry because Shadow has the heals, they got the turnaround, the oil spill, everybody locked in place, but can we find a kill? Hacky so zoned at the back line, but it's a massive gem propulsion into 3. Scroller ceiling is there, and ETC finally bites the dust after a 20-second dance. The tango is done, and the happy feet are had. Crimson have a full 1-level lead.
in those first 3 picks we saw on the draft for Crimson, the front line of the Blaze, the Johanna, and also the Sport of the Decade, we saw just how powerful those heroes are in combination. We saw those potions coming in to save Azure on that Hanzo, and then the lockdown was just incredible to set up that scroll of the ceiling, and also just allowing that damage to come through over the top of that. That was just incredible to watch.
Very hard for Xylophone Douche to try and push on into that one. As the Glacial Spike does get dropped on down. 4 stacks away from completing Master of the Cold Dark. So Hacky will be very happy very shortly, as he will be able to really add some firepower to that wombo combo that we were just able to bear witness to. Crimson now, clean sheet, 4 kills to 0. Have just hit level 10. Expecting to see how they want to dictate this even further, because they can go for another hand if they like.
Yeah, and with these heroics, they will want to try and make some kind of play happen. They have the lockdown to really make it work, and there goes the ETC. A lot of damage, but he's going to be able to get out of that for now. Oh, the lockdown.
The condemn is there. Once again to free. Jasmine this time does not connect with the Jet Propulsion, but doesn't really matter because the oil spill is on towards Tommy.
Oh.
The attention is split. They're going to find him. Stay low! And listen! As Bouncy Knight on the flank, trying to get Hacky, trying to ruin his perfect KDA, does get taken on down. Shadow, you monster, you old man god. He does what needs to be done. And to add insult to injury, they now have a hand in.
Shadow is such a good support. They got the great lockdown, and he even had the presence of mind to realize, oh, Hacky is just getting blasted by this Li Ming on that backside, and then realized he didn't really have the tools to keep the Li Ming away, but a great stay a while and listen, and then the potions coming in to keep the rest of the team alive. So incredible play from Shadow. And as you mentioned, behind all of that, they were able to get another turn in, and they're trying to just keep on applying the pressure to XD, who are trying to get themselves to level 10. They do have it now, but they have to try and get on this back line. Hacky's allowed so much freedom.
What, he needs to get those kills. I mean, watching that replay, Bouncy Knight actually scuffed his magic missile there to get the free kill in a choke spot. So it's tough. It's tough when you're unable to find these kills. There's the push, but instantly interrupted. The multi-core is there, but the one-shot potential. Will that swing of the hammer mean anything? I don't think so, because gems are on the floor, and your chance of turning this game around have gone from something to nothing. 1, 2, 3. Everybody is falling on down. Bouncy Knight says, I can do something. But Hacky says, I can do something as well. Can they get the full 5-man ace? Yes, they can. And just like that, Crimson showing just an electric performance.
This has been incredible dominance. As we see the engage, the lockdown follow-up is just incredible, and the damage just so much coming out of this fully stacked Kel'Thuzad at this point. And at that point, the fight was essentially done. Sure, they were able to finally get the kill onto Shadow and knock down his KDA just that little bit more, but because they invested in that kill, they ended up going a little bit too far forward, and the rest of Crimson were able to secure the 5-man ace.
Well, it's a tough position to be in right now for the boys of Xylophone Dudes. They've had some magic moments, and they may just go for the Hail Mary play. They don't have level 13. This is incredibly risky, guys. Bear in mind, look at the top left side of your screen. There is no mosh pit for 35. There's no sort of furious smash for 20 or 10 seconds now. So those big turnaround cooldowns that they need to try and lock somebody in place and get those Bouncy Knight Li Ming resets aren't there. But I'll tell you what will be there. A Dragon Strike into a kill, into a death, and into a reset. That's 2 kills just like that. And desperation, tilt, I don't know how you want to label that, but for sure now Crimson say, this is our boss.
Yeah, it was ambitious to say the least for XE to start making their way towards that boss. I mean, you need to make some kind of play, but being down to this extent, being down talent tiers and
Hacky
also
again?
The levels are Hacky.
He gets saved again!
Oh,
Bouncy Knight's magic missiles are going to haunt his dreams. Oh.
That's you're talking about tilt. I think that's what tilt is made of right there.
This is what tilt feels like.
It does not feel good.
Feels bad indeed, as level 15 is there. Level 16 will surely be picked up by the time that these two towers have fallen on down, and the forts, well, actually the keep, that's where we are now. We're going towards a win condition. This boss is looking to exert some serious pressure as Surly thankfully breathes a sigh of relief as the Kel'Thuzad combo narrowly misses him.
Yeah, but this boss is still going to be doing a lot of work. The Modern Core does get used, so they will be able to defend this for just a little bit, trying to force away Crimson enough, but Crimson, they understand how far ahead they are. They are just going to keep on pushing forward. The boss is going to waste the rest of that Molten Core, and it's quite a bit
16,
used. They're going to keep on pushing.
They are a whole ton tier above. They've only now just hit level 13. They are destroying this game. The combo landing onto Shrilly, dropping him low, but Flace is in a fantastic position to the right-hand side. What can he do with it? The counter-strike. No damage, no problem. Stay a while, listen. On to 2, and it makes it easy. Chains, Dragon Arrow, C for days as people fall on down just like that. 1, 2, make it easy. Get the keep, get the game. GG, go next. Let's look for more. Yes, we can. RGL Phoenix, it's disgusting across the board. They don't even need to end the game. They just say, we've cleared it. You're going to be respawning very shortly. Let's just get another hand in, because they've got 71. They only need 60.
Yeah, and they were taken rather low to a lot of the actual damage coming out from the Li Ming. So realizing that it was still rather early in the game, being 20 minutes, as you mentioned, the death time is not all that long at this stage of the game. So just going for the more safer, assured play there. Still so far ahead, as you mentioned, a full talent tier, and it's going to be quite a while before XD get anywhere near that point, but they try to make a sneaky play here.
And they have to. This is literally the Hail Mary for them. The sleep dart lands. Can they get the kill?
They can't kill him.
He just pops into the bunker. He makes it so easy. It's the dream. The absolute dream for Kel'Thuzad, who just blows 2 people up instantly. Tommy in the backline doing the mosh pit, doing whatever he can, but he gets serrated by arrows. And members falling on down. Literally, were going to fall on down if they didn't do anything, but it was a worthy cause. And he B-steps
oh my god, with this!
He B-steps on the Shadow Fisher. He doesn't care. He's had enough. The game is looking like it is going to come to a conclusion here as Crimson are breaking through another keep.
Yeah, they're just playing a tutorial style, take down all the structures that they can, while the rest of XD are starting to respawn as Hacker, he is a very bold man at this point, stepping very far forward, but with how far ahead they are, he doesn't really need to worry. And when you got someone like the Shadow at your back, you're pretty safe.
What can they find with the Swan right now? They got a Sulphurous Smash. Can they land?
The Shadow's dancing around them.
Something happen. He's dancing. He's scroll of ceiling. He's popping.
This man's a god.
Xavier, he's going to fall on down. No 20, no invulnerability. Bouncy! Oh, Bouncy Castle. He's having the time of his life as he jumps in the spray on the ground. And he says, I am the saving grace of Xylophone dudes. Don't ever disrespect me or my kids ever again. I want to win this game. I will win.
Shadow's just going to bop him himself.
He's going to get hit.
Oh, this game has become a little bit more XD than what we expected at this point. And Haggy coming in and he's trying to get something done. Bouncy just gets detonated.
Everyone's like, playtime's over, Bouncy. You've had your fun. It's time to end this one. The beast is coming.
Sailor knows what's up. Yeah, this one's about done. I believe XD know that they've been pretty much convincingly defeated in this game. A nice mosh pit, but there's literally nothing to follow up on that. Flaze is dancing with Shadow, who's just gonna...
You can't B-step, or if you can't make them B-step, I'll make them B-step by doing a mosh pit. They're all dancing, and I'll B-step afterwards. The full 5-man ace here, as Crimson convincingly in game number 2 take them down in a slaughterfest, 27-4. The redemption is there for Hacky on his Kel'Thuzads. And the game is said and done like that on a very quick opening night here for week number 3 in the ANZ HGC.
Was that our quickest game of the night?
No, 7 minutes.
No. I mean, was that our longest game of the night? I should have said.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
When you're saying 50 minutes is long, you're thinking, oh, okay.
It's like it's been a bit of a quick night at the office.
It has been a very quick night at the office. Lots of damage there. Deary me, Ling Ming, 44k. Bouncy Knight really was the saving grace. I was like, he's not giving up. Like, he may be stepping, but he's still doing some pop off potential, right?
He did the best that he could. He did have the help of the Ana, sometimes getting those the nano boosts, but when you also have an Alarak and you also have a Ragnos who could get some of those, sometimes less is more when it comes to those kind of compositions. Maybe you don't need to have all of the options when it comes to nano boosts. Maybe one or two that you can kind of focus a little bit more. It seemed as though, as a bit of a joke as it was, the ban on the Cho'Gall may have thrown a bit of an extra wrench into the works of XD.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it looked like it wasn't going too far after that.
They're like, it's time to draft Ana, boys. We've had enough. And as much as it was a nice flavor, it definitely had some ability to allow them to actually creep up in those numbers, despite going down 27 kills to 4. Bouncy was up there at 44k. Soraya was up there at 40k. And, this is with what Azure was doing on Hanzo at 53 and Kel'Thuzad at 47. So despite being so far behind in the kill department, they were able to still output such an incredible amount of damage. So a commendable performance, really, if anything. But on the night, 2 clean 2-0s to start off week number 3 of the ANZ HGC. And that's going to just accelerate these teams in the standings, getting them too much closer to where they deserve to be and where they feel that they should be, with 2 other games taken off place off stream. But that does it for us. A very quick night for everybody involved, really, as you have Wednesday, it's tomorrow, Open Division to look forward to, and then we're back here with the Premier Division, this channel, same place, same time, Thursday, for more ANZ HGC Premier Division. Have a good night. Be sure to follow the channel to get up to date with everything happening in the ANZ esports region. Until then, take care.